So we're going to now go to our next wonderful guests who have been patiently listening and are here, Uttama, Devi, and Partha. They were married in 1971, 1 year before I was born, and they got initiated together by Srila Prabhupada in 73. They have 3 children and 8 grandchildren, and they spent many years overseeing the Pujari department. Partha was head Pujari for 20 years, and Uttama Devi was a seamstress. Wow, so talented. They could see how relationships within ISKCON were adversely affecting individuals and communities, and they decided to train as marital educators. They are 2 of the founding members of the Grihastha Vision Team and have mentored numerous couples, facilitated seminars around the world together, and they specialize in premarital education. Co-authors, along with other GVT members of the Heart and Soul Connection, a devotional guide to marriage, service, and love. And today they're going to speak on the importance of marriage education, how Srila Prabhupada wanted it, how our Krishna consciousness is practically manifest in our relationships, and also look at premarital education and touch briefly on marriage counseling. I feel very honored and blessed to have trained under them. My wife and I had their wonderful association, and we just feel very blessed and honored to have them here with us today. So thank you so much, Uttama Devi and Partha. I will hand it over to yourselves.
Thank you. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanamane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharane Nirvashesha Sunyavadi Pastanchade Sutarane Panchakalpatrubhascha Kripasanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnebhyo Namo Namaha. So I'd like to begin by talking about the importance of supporting the Grihastha ashram, and specifically about the importance of premarital education, which was something that Srila Prabhupada actually desired. Am I unable to share the screen? Okay, here we are here. This is a letter that Srila Prabhupada wrote to Bhagavan Prabhu in July of 1971. And he wrote, "The 2 marriages recommended by you may be performed at that time as well, but only after having sufficiently counseled the respective devotees. This marriage business should not be taken as a farce, but it is a very serious matter. Recently, so many couples have been cast adrift by the waves of Maya's influence. That is hard to check, but still devotees must realize the responsibilities of household life. And there is no question of separation. Too much this has been happening, and I am very much distressed. So if they are promising not to separate under any circumstances, but to work cooperatively in the service of the Lord, then my sanction is there for their marriages and my blessings as well. Otherwise, not." So this was something that was very much concerning Srila Prabhupada, the situation of marriage in our society. And we see from this letter, he wanted the prospective couples to get some kind of support before marriage, to support them in their ashram. And unfortunately, that letter just kind of was filed away in the archives and somehow forgotten for years. And almost 20 years ago, when our group, the Grihastha Vision Team, began its endeavor to support Grihasthas, we actually stumbled on this letter, and we thought, this is Prabhupada's blessings. This is something he wants. And we saw that it was something very important. Very important in terms of devotee care, for the health of individuals, for the health of their ashrams, and also importantly, for the health of their spiritual lives. And one very problematic negative paradigm we've had in our society in the past, and still somewhat in the present, is that couples may think that my married life, it's something different than my spiritual life. And that's problematic. That's very problematic. One of our god sisters wrote to Srila Prabhupada once, inquiring if it would be better for her to do some more direct service, maybe sewing for the deities or going on Sankirtan, instead of looking after her children. And she's thinking maybe she can literally farm her kids out to someone else. I mean, babysitting something, but she was thinking of becoming even detached from her own children. And Srila Prabhupada, he replied that there is no such thing as indirect devotional service. He said, just like you're in a house and there's many wires running throughout the house, and all of those wires are connected to the powerhouse. And if any of you would like to make an experiment, you can take a little screwdriver or a kitchen knife, stick it in a power socket, and you'll experience the energy of the powerhouse 100%. So if we see that our ashrams, our family life, it's actually a very important part of our spiritual life. We can get that, the mercy of the spiritual master. So Srila Prabhupada said that if you see that I'm doing this for the satisfaction of the spiritual master, oh, sorry. Don't try that at home. Yeah, I did that when I was a kid. But Prabhupada said that if you realize you're doing that for the satisfaction of the spiritual master in Krishna, it is direct devotional service. So very important. We're talking about direct devotional service here. And also in terms of our spiritual life, in terms of our philosophy, we're trying to understand the mood of Lord Chaitanya, the Shikshakstakam, how we have to become more tolerant in the tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and ready to offer all respects to others. Where is that kind of humility and tolerance and patience going to come from? Is it just going to fall from the sky one day? Is Krishna going to magically turn some switch and everything will be 100% peaceful and easy and a breeze? Well, after over 50 years of practicing Krishna consciousness, I will tell you definitely it's not going to fall from the sky. And where it is going to come from, it is going to come from the practicum.
From me.
Yeah, the practicum of your spiritual life. And so in marital life, there's immense opportunities to experience situations which will help you become patient and tolerant and humble. And you have a family, it's going to give you even more opportunities to develop humility, tolerance, and patience. And even you live in the ashram with the brahmacharis or the brahmacharinis, a very similar situation. You have to learn to develop that kind of respect and humility and tolerance and patience and practice. And again, that's so important because Bhagavad Gita gives great detailed descriptions about the modes of material nature and how they're competing for supremacy and what they look like in different activities and different kinds of determination, different kinds of worship. So Prabhupada describes that those modes are prevalent in actually all activities. They're present in all activities. And so he explains in the 14th chapter how they're competing for supremacy. Sometimes goodness triumphs, and then ignorance pulls it down. And maybe passion pulls us up to passion, then ignorance pulls us down, and maybe we come back to goodness. But we understand philosophically, at least, we have to come to the platform of goodness and elevate ourselves eventually to Shuddha pure goodness, because the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna, is absolute Shuddha pure unalloyed goodness. And to attain his abode and to really fully understand him, we have to come to that Shuddha platform. So Srila Prabhupada describes significantly in that 14th chapter that by practice, one can develop the mode of goodness. So what we do with marital education and premarital education is simply, somebody asked me, what's the essence of what you do? And I said, well, we teach couples how to fight in the mode of goodness. You can fight in the modes of passion and ignorance, very unproductive dialogues, or like, I won't even call them dialogues. Usually it's two monologues going on at the same time and no one's really communicating. There are ways to deal with challenges and difficulties in non-confrontational, constructive ways. And doing that, it brings us to the mode of goodness, and we can resolve those kind of things in ways that are productive. And so, again, that's extremely important because um, I think actually in our society, since we begun our initiative, the divorce rate has actually gone down significantly. Although at the same time, many couples and marriages, they come to an impasse and they can't resolve their differences, and they just end up in a cycle of kind of endless dissatisfaction. And that's certainly better than divorce. At least you have the dharmic commitment that I'm going to stay in my ashram through thick and thin. And like Mahatma was saying, you might think, well, it's just my karma just to suffer this. Maybe, but I think Krishna and Srila Prabhupada expected more from us than to live together unhappily. Prabhupada, he once wrote that we need many examples of sane grihasthas in our Krishna consciousness movement. So there's actually an onus of responsibility on us all to come to the mode of goodness in all our activities, and to see that our ashrams are a place for cultivating that Krishna consciousness. Because I can go on the street and tell people, chant Hare Krishna, be happy. But if I go home and I'm not happy, I'm miserable in my marriage, and we have endless conflicts, there's kind of a disconnect in my message. But I'm telling people chant be happy, but maybe I'm only happy when I'm telling people to chant be happy. We need to develop that, as a Mahatma saying, self-care, care for ourselves, care for our ashrams, and even in the marriage life, self-care in a marriage means learning to be assertive in the sense that you're able to express what you need with respect and compassion. Generally, we're not so thoughtful about self-care. We think that if my spouse loves me, they should just give me what I need without me asking. And people become resentful and they start to complain. And actually, the more you complain, you'll get less of what you actually want. So you can turn that into the mode of goodness very simply. Make a humble request that, if you could do this for me, it would improve my life in this way. And then you can negotiate that. So there's many, if you want to call them techniques or behaviors in the mode of goodness, which, if practiced, can elevate you to the mode of goodness. And Mahatma was talking about neurology. By practicing activities in the mode of goodness, you literally develop healthy habits or neural pathways, which make it easier for you to be tolerant, to be patient, to be more kind and loving. And actually, sometimes we hear of being tolerant and we think of just gritting our teeth. And we should just go through our life and our marriages just gritting our teeth. But again, I think Krishna expects more from us than that. So we can have that self-care for ourselves, for our spouses, for our children, for our community. If we develop that mood of love, then the tolerance tempered with love becomes patience. And it's much easier to be patient than teeth gritting tolerant. And again, this is very important because we all need to set examples. And we should see that we need to set an example in our ashram that we can live together peacefully and harmoniously. It doesn't mean there's not going to be differences. There's always differences. There's always some kind of degree of challenge. I prefer using the word challenge than conflict, because if you manage it properly, it's a challenge and not a conflict. This can be learned. And we all need to learn that, to set that kind of example, especially for our children. And in that way, Srila Prabhupada, he said once, a hero is someone who, when they see, they think, I would like to become like that person. Prabhupada said, that's a hero. And he also said that I want all you boys and girls to become heroes and heroines. So that's the onus of responsibility upon us to do that. And if we see that having a healthy marriage is a responsibility for the service of Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada also wrote that when you try to do something on the order of the spiritual master, you can accomplish more than you can by your own endeavor. So there's a lot of spiritual potency locked in there if we have the right approach and attitude. So I'm just going to let Uttama describe a little bit about what the premarital education involves. And so I kind of explain why it's important. And this is how you do it.
We're actually trying to set a culture in ISKCON that people value marriage so much that they will take a little bit of training so that they can do it well before. So one of the things we start out by taking an intake questionnaire just to find a little bit about both of you. And we give quite an extensive couples workbook, which we work through and they can use as a refresher at any time. So we start with 5 90-minute sessions. And while we have a curriculum that we follow, we do individualize it to meet the needs of the particular couple. So we start by helping them understand what are their particular strengths and areas which they feel could benefit by some growth. And we also teach more productive and compassionate communication skills. We help them discuss that previous conditioning, you know, what modes it was under and how it's playing out in their own relationship. And as my husband was saying, we have to help them practice assertively requesting what they want so they don't have to opt to complaints and how to work as a team. A bit about the importance of setting goals is discussed so that they can help envision themselves in the future together. We do touch a bit on parenting and raising children, same thing. How we were affected by the parenting styles of our caregivers and discuss and negotiate which methods the couple would like to use in their relationship. We do look at our individual conflict styles and how to develop a good working way of negotiating through challenges. We discuss intimacy and negotiating that because it's often a gray area for couples in Krishna consciousness. So sometimes they need a little bit of help understanding that. Then we also ask couples to do a values pyramid.
If everyone could please mute.
And work their values into a vision board that they envision their joint future in. It's quite interesting. We often run into couples years later and they still got their vision board, you know, on the wall. Hey, we did this and we did that and we're working towards this. So it's always fun to see that. So we've come to understand, as my husband was saying, that our advancement in Krishna consciousness, it's actually practically manifest in our relationships. And so how do we practically apply our philosophy? So we've seen the need for developing this strong culture of support around achieving healthy marriages. So we like to have that easily available to couples before marriage, because we understand that healthy marriages create happy families, and that in turn creates a strong ISKCON community. So we have a little testimonial, it's under 2 minutes here, of one of the couples which we mentored, just so you can get a little.
I'm going to have to. Why isn't it there?
So my husband forgot to pin it, and while he's looking for that.
It's on a screen behind here. Maybe if I just start playing, it'll show up. I'm just going to minimize this.
While he's looking for that, can you remind us what was the title of your book? I'd like to put a link here.
Our book was Heart and Soul Connection, a devotional guide to marriage, service, and love. You see it right there? Just click there. Oh, no. All right. So while he's looking for that, we've also come to understand that people do have difficulties in their marriages. And that usually, and sometimes they require a little bit of extra help with their marriages. So usually people come for marriage counseling when they have some kind of relationship stagnation, or they found that they don't actually have the emotional capacity to engage in their relationship in a healthy way. And another reason that couples often come for couples counseling is they find that they're triggering each other's trauma and they don't know how to repair from each other. So we have found the premarital testimonial, and we'll just put that on now. Let's go.
Just going to enlarge it first.
I would say
Sure.
we covered a lot overall, but the essence of it.
Is it showing?
Yes, now it is. Yes, now it is.
Okay.
Now it is.
Can you make full screen?
Yep.
We're given a set of tools, a set of knowledge that just helps us to understand ourselves more, understand how that is going to play out in our relationship and the dynamic that we have together. And yeah, it really just equips us with so many valuable things that would often go overlooked. It's really given us so much. Just like I think about that, if we didn't do premarital education and counseling, we would be very lost. we would be still together, but probably
not knowing how to have, I'm sorry, I'm interrupting.
Okay.
Just not knowing how to communicate in a way that allows space for us to grow. Mm. We'd probably just be butting heads all the time, carrying resentment. Mm. And I feel like, yeah, we learn tools to truly grow in the relationship rather than just being in the relationship and dealing with each other. We're like, let's help each other grow through each other's things. I think that's the most prominent thing that's coming out from here now.
Yeah, and it's a really nice blend of...
And I just feel so supported.
It's a nice blend of just relationship tools and communication tools, but also a heavy emphasis on keeping Krishna in the center. Mm. Because I imagine if we had premarital counselors and premarital education that was just more secular, it would be helpful, but it wouldn't quite hit the same. It wouldn't fulfill the same like value, and it just really helps us to work together, not only for our relationship, but also for our Krishna consciousness, for our service.
Yeah, and it's also like we're in this relationship so that we can help each other serve Krishna. So it's like full circle that allows us to really covers all the bases.
Yeah.
So just to go back a little bit, sometimes we find that while we can give skills, and in the beginning of a relationship, that's very helpful. It helps them negotiate that, first traumatic year of, two very different people living together. Somehow or other, if they're not able to apply the skills, we sometimes need to recommend a little bit further some marital counseling to help them figure out why they're not able to apply the skills in their relationship. And so that's usually because of some kind of previous conditioning that's getting in the way. So we're also found that many devotees need that little bit of help, and to not feel that that's shameful in any way. Rather that as Mahatma was saying, that self-care and that care for our relationships can really empower us to be able to spread Krishna consciousness better, be more Krishna conscious in our own lives. And so we'd also like to have the stigma taken off of marital counseling along with premarital education. So maybe we'll...
I'll just say one thing, as Mahatma was saying, sometimes people think if you're using any kind of thing that's from psychology, it's like, it's Maya, because it's like material. I know the Srila Prabhupada actually wrote in the second canto of the Bhagavatam that how these different sciences like psychology, when they're utilized solely and wholly in the service of a Lord, his exact words were, they are factually Hari Kirtan. So how does psychology become non-different than Kirtan? Well, you're using psychology to help you uproot some problematic weeds that are kind of anchored to your devotional creeper and stifling it. And if you can use that psychology to untangle that weed, it enables you to grow.
Archana City calls marriage Anartana Virti 101. It's like figuring out how to get rid of your anartas with the help of your best friend. They're going to pull them out of you. So we'll open it now for questions.
There was one question up in the chat. You might have to scroll up a little bit from Sadhvi.
Why don't you just read it to us?
Yeah, I'm going to read it. She's asking, she says, may I humbly ask, do you mean even for those who do not both practice Krishna consciousness? I'm a mother of 6 adult children with a husband who did not believe in anything other than his own pleasure. How does a person with such a marriage partner do? What do you have any recommendations for someone in this position?
Let us know. It sounds like you've done well. You got 6 kids and you're still here.
We have met many examples of couples where one is a devotee or one is partially a devotee or one is not a devotee, and they have very good working relationships. It's just a matter if you have that mutual respect for whatever your value system is, as long as you're not ridiculing or trying to undermine the other individual's value system, you can have a functioning, stable relationship.
So there are instances, of course, that we sometimes can get into situations of abuse. And there's quite a few examples where Srila Prabhupada recommended separation and even divorce when there's abuse. So it's not that we don't take that into consideration. When we're talking about getting skills in order to improve your conflict, we're talking that in areas where there isn't abuse. When there's areas of serious abuse, then some outside help may be necessary to see if that abuse can be rectified. And if not, Srila Prabhupada didn't actually recommend staying together. So please don't feel any guilt over that, because that's detrimental to the advancement of the soul.
Abuse is the antithesis of Vaishnavism.
I think one of the reasons also that we would like to encourage premarital education is to help you see if you do have enough compatibilities to be able to get into a relationship that you're going to be safe in and happy in. So it's kind of a bit of a check and balance system for you. It can't always be, it's not, when we have a couple and at the end of the premarital education or partway through, they decide that, I think this marriage is just going to be too much work and maybe we're not so compatible. We consider that a success. So premarital education can help you be able to see that better. Sometimes, not always, because sometimes we're just so attached that we can't see what's in front of our face. And maybe we have to learn in a different way. So either way, hopefully we all learn and advance.
process of premarital education is designed and executed in a way in which we try to slow down the relationship a little bit so the infatuation doesn't take over and they do become blind to some red flags that are flying. So we do try to moderate the relationship a bit so they gradually get to know each other and build a more solid trust based on actually knowing each other.
We used to do the marriage education like, every week for 5 weeks. Now we try and stretch it out. We do it once a month so that we can see a couple through different stages of their relationship and help them in that way. We found that to be actually more effective. Oops, the question pops out before I see it. Did you want to read another one there, or are we out of time?
I saw one question came up about where's the code about psychology being non-different than heart care. So, I think you'll be given our contact. Just email me and I can send you the code.
In the second canto. It was, he said other things too, not just psychology. He had a list of quite a few things. Are we out of time, Nitai? Jai Nitai? We are. We shall pass it back to you.
Thank you both so very much. And I'm really sorry to cut you off. It was very, very valuable, the time that you gave and everything that you shared. And I can't, for everyone online, I can't recommend taking advantage of the opportunity of the association of these two wonderful souls. Please, they have plane ticket, will travel. So just get in touch with them, let them know they're happy to come to you. They're also happy to do stuff on Zoom. Let me just share my screen again and share the information one more time. See if
We'll just take a second to say, express our gratitude and thanks for allowing us to stand on your soapbox and give our spiel.
Definitely not my soapbox, but I'm happy to just be anywhere near the lotus feet of both of you. You're such inspirational devotees. Your talk was wonderful, and I can see that so many devotees are inspired, and it's very much practical and very much needed. And I saw someone put a quote from Fast from, I think, Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj's thing earlier about just the Grihastha ashram needs to be promoted more and encouraged more. I think most of us can agree with that. So anyway, here's the contact details. Thank you so much.